Hi everyone, it's John Mitchell. In this video we're going to look at the role of the human resource manager under a decentralised approach. So remember that decentralised approach uses enterprise bargaining, so all the negotiation and all the employer relation, or much of the employer relations, happens at workplace level or at enterprise level. Because of that, the human resource manager now has a much larger role in employer relations than they did under a centralized system where lots of the employer relations and negotiations and disputes were taken out of away from the workplace, and it was done at a higher level with the government involvement. Now, because it's done at workplace level, they have a much larger involvement and role in employer relations. Now, having positive employer relations is crucial to maintaining strong relationships and an organisation achieving its overall objectives. So it's the job of the human resource manager to try and manage the employer relations really effectively to ensure that the relationship between management and staff remains positive, but also so that the goals of the organisation are still the number one priority for the organisation. So during employer relations negotiations and dispute resolution and those type of things. Now, the role of the human resource manager, there's three main roles that we're going to look at today: negotiating employment agreements, implementing those agreements, and then resolving any disputes. And we're going to go through those three in a little more depth. So first of all, starting off with the negotiating agreements, the human resource manager now has a major role in negotiating agreements. A new agreement needs to be created, often every sort of 3 to 4 years, or 2 to 3 years probably, and then the human resource manager is involved in that negotiation, and in most cases they will represent the employer during those negotiations. Even though they are an employee themselves, quite often they'll be representing, their job is to represent management or the employer. Now, it's important that during this time, they bargain in good faith to ensure that relationships are maintained. When we talk about bargaining in good faith, that means that, attending all meetings, holding meetings at reasonable venues and reasonable times, actually listening to the other party, considering all offers that are made from the other party and those types of things. So not just, saying this is what we want and we're not going to listen to, actually bargaining in good faith. The human resource manager needs to consider the needs of the employees during a negotiation of a new agreement, but they also need to consider the financial position of the organisation. All right, if the HR manager adheres to all the demands of employees, yes, that may make them really happy, but it could put the organisation under financial stress. So it's a real balancing act between giving the employees what they need and what they want, but also maintaining a really strong financial position for the organisation so that then the employees still have ongoing employment into the future. Now, let's assume that the agreement has been negotiated and it's been approved by Fair Work Australia. Then it's the job of the human resource manager to implement that particular agreement. And really, the roles of planning and organising are really important here. Planning when it's going to be done, organising all the resources to make sure things are in the right places at the right time. So things like, pay increases implemented on the correct dates, any kind of wage, any kind of conditions that need to be implemented that have changed, they need to be implemented in a timely manner also because once the agreement starts, that's the agreement that the organisation is on. Now, managers and supervisors may need to be notified, or will need to be notified of any changes that affect them, so their conditions, but also they may even need to be trained in some respects. So let's say that in the agreement that there's been flexibility built into the agreement where employees can work from home. Well, then they may need to implement new kind of communication technology, and as a result, the managers and supervisors need to know how to manage that software, how to manage those communications. And so that's just one example of a condition that could be put into an agreement where employees or managers and supervisors need to be trained on the new conditions and processes that are going to be implemented as a result of the new agreement. And then finally, dispute resolution is a really important part for the human resource manager. If negotiations do break down, employees and employers may decide to take industrial action, and it's the human resource manager's role to be involved in resolving that particular dispute. So they need to know the employee relations legislation. They may need to consult an employer association. That's really important so that they know where they stand. They know whether, if it's the employees that are taking industrial action, that it's protected industrial action, all these types of things. And the aim is obviously to resolve the dispute really quickly to ensure employees are productive once again. So all your management skills are really relevant here in terms of two-way communication, negotiation, problem solving, time management. All those kind of things are really important during the dispute resolution, but the aim there is to try and, get employees back working as and productively as possible, so that we can maintain strong relationships with them. So just to recap, the role of the human resource manager on a decentralised system is to negotiate agreements, implement agreements, and dispute resolution. One thing I will say, there's in past exams, where it's asked for the role of the human resource manager in employer relations. Some students have written about planning, organising, leading, and controlling. Now, in past exams, that has been accepted. So if you talked about planning, organising, leading, and controlling in terms of how they would use them in employer relations, it had to be specific to employer relations for those answers. So just keep in mind that that has been accepted if you do get stuck. But I think most what I'm expecting is what I would be expecting from an answer is to talk about these types of roles when dealing with employer relations. So for questions, activities, and more on this video, then always come on over to teachingbubble.com.